The best coaches in the game, we really ain't playing. We regroup up in the Slack chat where the coaches debrief. We be piecing these puzzles, occupy the chunk of the pie. Ain't no lie when we hit the block, helmets, casket, and top. You be seeing helmet after helmet, helmet after helmet. First place, second place, fifth place, eighth place, 12th place, 15, 16, 20. So many helmets, you got blurred vision, we got...
All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another DFSARMY Bold Call Fantasy Football Podcast. We are looking at best ball strategies for 2021. That's right, best ball season never stops. We're already talking 2021 best ball, and we are sponsored by one of the best ball providers out there, Underdog Fantasy, where you can go and sign up with promo code DFSARMY and start drafting best ball leagues already for 2021. My name is Kevin Allen. I am your host, and with me, as always, is the man himself, the Encyclopedia Fantasy Footballica. Season long says, what's up, my man?
The best ball addiction has started already. I'm sorry to say that I am probably going to break my record this year of number of entries. For those of you who used to like to play the draft app and it went away, Underdog Fantasy is the same creators that made the draft app. So when they sold the draft app, what was it, to FanDuel? I forget exactly.
FanDuel took it over and wiped it out. Really,
right.
I wanted you to buy me out and just wipe me out.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the plan when FanDuel, I heard their CEO interviewed on a podcast, and he said that wasn't the plan. It just kind of turned out that way. But the long short is that the creators created Underdog Fantasy. So sign up, use the code DFSARMY, and we're going to talk best ball today. And you know what's interesting, Geek, is that people used to just play best ball a few weeks before the season to get ready, and then now it became like an after free agency. Now people are playing best ball, us included, before the previous season is even over. It's feeding that draft addiction.
Only sickos would do such a thing.
Fantasy football has become a year-round hobby, year-round pastime, a year-round passion. That's why the dynasty redraft players are flocking to dynasty, because they want to play fantasy football in the winter months.
Absolutely. And one of the cool things, and we'll go over this on this episode, is and this breakdown. One of the really cool things, though, is you could really get an edge. And we saw this last season. You can really get an edge, especially if everybody else is drafting early. So if you're in a tournament for best ball, and again, listen, it's a long wait, and we're impatient people, and fine, this isn't the only thing we're doing. But if you're in an early best ball league, and you have a little bit of knowledge or a little bit of strong leans on some players, and especially some advanced knowledge, we see it every year. Players go from kind of like 7th, 8th rounders all the way up to the second, first round, like as time progresses. So if you've got some really strong leans, and we're going to talk about some of those, some edge plays that we think we can identify now for these early leagues. And I want to talk real quick. Again, I'm going to jump back to Underdog here, just to talk about this contest that they're running, which is, it's a fun little contest. So they're running a tournament. It's called the Big Board. Okay, it's 5.8K entries, 50,000 in prizes, $10 to enter, and it's going to be completely shut down by April 29th. So everybody who's in this tournament will have early drafted. So
do you know why April 29th they're shutting it down?
I'm assuming that's the NFL draft.
Yes.
So you want to. These are people who are not going to have the advantage of knowing who was drafted where. Now, if you have somebody like Season Long says here, giving advice, we got a pretty good idea on some rookies, on some players that have a decent shot of becoming this season's Cam Akers, or this season's, not Jerome Robinson. You ain't figuring out no damn Jerome Robinson. James Robinson. Sorry. But you ain't figuring that out. But a couple of big name rookies that will be able to actually draft super late in these drafts that might wind up extremely valuable. So let's...
The best example, by the way, of exactly what you're talking about is if you've been playing best ball, Underdog has been open for about a month already for business. And I was drafting Matthew Stafford in the late pick 125 as QB 14. And right now he is skyrocketed up to QB 5 in ADP.
Do you think that's a little bit of an overreaction, by the way?
I don't.
Come on, calm down.
I think it's an overreaction, but it's an appropriate one. Think about how we thought about the Rams offense before Goff kind of basically blanketed it out. On a good Goff day, what does the Rams offense look like? And Sean McVay has been handicapped by not having a downfield passing game. Stafford is one of those players that elevates the pass catchers around him. Now, if Matt Stafford's healthy, and he has had 8 of 9 healthy seasons, most people think of him as an injury player. He has had 3 in a row with 16 games. He is a tough, gritty player. He was handpicked. There was a bidding war for him. They are all in on this. Now, I mean, we'll go through the quarterbacks who we want. We like the running quarterbacks better. But again, here's an example. Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, the tight ends who were left for dead for fantasy for this coming year have now all taken around a boost up and around.
And definitely fairly getting that boost, man. What happened to Jared Goff? Dude,
I don't think anything
very good, but I mean, this is just what a precipitous fall.
Well, what the reports came out from the team was that he didn't show, we know all the good things about Jared Goff. When there's no pressure, he could deliver short passes, but he didn't show leadership. He wasn't demonstrating toughness, and that's tough for someone like Sean McVay. I mean, that is a serviceable quarterback, but not what you need to get you to the next level. Now, let me ask you this. We're talking about an ADP convergence between the 2 running backs on the teams where the quarterbacks were traded. DeAndre Swift and Cam Akers. DeAndre Swift was a full round ahead of Akers. Their ADPs are starting to converge, and predictably, I think Cam Akers is going to maybe start to go ahead of DeAndre Swift in a few best balls this week.
Yeah, I could see it happening. I don't, I did look, we've talked a lot about Cam Akers, and it's funny we're going in this direction, but there's still a concern with Cam. He had a very strong finish. Obviously, I rolled out a lot of Cam Akers towards the end of the DFS season. It was very profitable. And I always love players that make me money in DFS. Like I appreciate them. I never forget it. It's like they burrow a little spot into the back of the brain here. And then when I think of them, I get a little happy feelings. I'm just like, Cam Akers. Yeah, he made me money once. And it's funny how
I like that.
Yeah, it's funny how that happens. It's just that they burrow their way in, and then I get a little happy feeling when I think of their name. But we have to keep. They did not throw to this guy. And so I don't know. It's just important to note that they didn't throw to him. You know who they did throw to? They threw to DeAndre Swift. So yeah, all the the moves and everything in a row. I think the biggest change with this trade is that now we're going to get a Rams team that was already a winner because their defense is the best defense in the league. They were a winning team. Now they're going to be a winning team that destroys their opponent, takes their soul with them. Like Matt Stafford changes that because now the best defensive team in the league is a really good offense too. Remember, what they were doing before is hey, we're so good on defense that we can just run it and have Goff kind of clunk his way through this game and we'll be fine. But when they fell behind in a game, they were dead. Now, this amazing defensive team is going to be pretty damn good on offense too. I actually think it's a mistake to elevate Stafford the way people have to the 5th pick, but that's another mistake that people make. I'm happy about that. You could take him with your 5th QB pick. I think it's a terrible ADP, the worst. And there's always this overreaction because what people aren't understanding is exactly what I'm saying. The Rams are still the best defensive team in the league, and they will be next year. So that team doesn't need to Matt Stafford magic happens when his team is behind. I've watched this kid for his whole career. And
King of the 4th quarter, right?
He's at his best in the 4th quarter. That's when Matt Stafford comes alive. They're not going to need that much of that this year. So let's hold our horses a little bit. We're not talking about Matt Stafford going to some shitty defensive team that needs to. This isn't like the Falcons. We're talking about the Rams, a team that doesn't need that much from their quarterback. They just need better than what they got from, I'm going to call Goff sort of a low level, this generation's Alex Smith.
Yeah, sure. That that makes a lot of sense. And the more I read about how the Stafford trade went down, the more interesting it is. There was 4 other teams, 3 Washington that offered their 1st round pick. Carolina offered, I think they have pick 9, and there was one other team, it escapes me right now, that offered their first round pick. And the reason the
Patriots.
Rams,
The Patriots were in on it.
well, the Stafford, there was an article that came out. I think it was from Schefter, one of the big national reporters, that said Stafford had said anywhere but the Patriots, and that could be probably Matt Patricia related, that he didn't want to go there. He said, "I'll go anywhere except there." But it was Denver. That's what it was.
Okay.
Denver was a done deal. So I read something, and I heard a beat reporter there, Seslowsky, who's pretty plugged in, said that Denver thought they were getting him. Like, it was that far along up until that Saturday night. It was going to be Drew Lock and Jerry Jeudy was going to go, and Stafford was going to go the other way. But what happened was that Denver insisted on getting a second round pick back with it, and that broke the deal. So then Sean McVay got on the phone to the Rams owner and asked for permission to come over the top with that additional third round pick. And in order to make and that was the offer they couldn't refuse. So the Denver deal was done. It was going to be what we just talked about. And then Denver pushed back a little bit on the Jeudy thing. And then they offered a second round pick. They said, give us back a second. And that broke the deal.
You know, what it tells you, though, there's a lot that you can glean from just knowing that story. What we glean is Denver not happy with Drew Lock, and they're not going to go into the season probably with that guy again. Very wise decision. I've been saying this for 2 years, that was just a mistake anyway. That's really interesting. I think Washington, we already knew, is going to try to be in on any sort of quarterback conversation because they need one. It is interesting to hear that Carolina is throwing themselves heavily into that mix. Clearly, game manager Teddy Bridgewater, they're not feeling like he's the answer over there. Yeah. And
by the way, the other piece of that story is that the Rams tried to get Aaron Rodgers. That was their first call. They basically said,
we knew that. Yeah, but that was always, I read that part, and that was always speculative. But again, with all that being said, to bring it back around, so we're talking about 2021 fantasy football strategies and best ball, and these moves and understanding these sorts of changes, it's really critical because like I said, another situation just out of this trade, not that there's too much going on with the Lions offense that we were super interested in anyway. I think Marvin Jones Jr. is kind of past the prime at this point.
Well, and he's also an unrestricted free agent, which, by the way, I'm doing my free agent. It's going out today or tomorrow. It'll be in the DFSARMY. You can come over, see it. We'll tweet it out. But it's my free agent predictions article. It's all done. Marvin Jones Jr., unrestricted free agent. There's 95% chance he's not back. They're going to go super young. My prediction is they will bring in a veteran wide receiver to mentor them, but you'll have to find out. I'll give you a little hint. A former Cincinnati Bengals superstar wide receiver is likely to be signed in Detroit as a free agent to help mentor the young guys.
Yeah. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. Where does Kenny Golladay go? That's more important because we'll find out if Kenny Golladay is the real deal or not this year when he's on a different team. Maybe.
All right. So bring it back to early best ball strategies. Now, there's a couple different ways to play. Now, Underdog, let's just define how they do it, since that's the one we're playing right now and we love to play because they have those $3, $5 games. So it's easy to jump in. When you deposit over there, make sure you use DFSARMY as your sign-up code, all right? They're also going to guarantee your good time. They'll refund you up to $100 if you don't love the game. So that is when you use DFSARMY as your code. All right, so they have one quarterback. They start 3 receivers, a flex. It's half PPR, something to note, Geek.
Very similar to FanDuel scoring. So if you had to think about a scoring system, the scoring system is FanDuel. Super critical to know that when you're drafting, because obviously there are very few, but a few differences between full and half point PPR to keep in mind.
So as much as we wanted to get away from this strategy that we went all in on last year, is just loading up on running backs with guaranteed jobs. The first couple of best balls that I did on Underdog, I couldn't get away from it. Now I did a little bit where one of my entries, I tried the Travis Kelce first round pick, and it is pretty cool because we all know Kelce is basically like a top 5 wide receiver, and it gives you the advantage of having that scarce position. It's Kelce or bust in half PPR, especially. You don't want to maybe go all in on Waller, but you got to get those running backs again early. It's a little deeper than it was last year, Geek, from first pass, but there's so much wide receiver value, and you're going to hear us hammering this strategy all off season long. If you're going to get in best ball, I like going after, if you have a top 5 pick, rattle off quick who you think the top 5 running backs in half PPR is. Just not even in any order. If they are in order, that's fine. Just rattle it off.
Obviously, Christian McCaffrey. You've got Saquon Barkley, who's going to be up there. Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara. There's
Dalvin Cook.
Dalvin Cook, of course.
Okay.
And then you start to get into some of those secondary guys that are also really awesome.
So there's a pushback from the market on Alvin Kamara, and I want to talk to you about that. That's the first player I want to talk about because there is this perception, and maybe there's some reality to it that without Drew Brees, is Alvin Kamara more of a late first round, second round player? Or remember, he has scored 6 touchdowns when you needed him the most in your fantasy championship. Talk to me a little bit about your feelings on Alvin Kamara. Is he firmly in that first tier, or are we better off taking Travis Kelce or any of the wide receivers like Davante Adams before him? I'm really interested to hear your feelings, assuming Taysom Hill is the quarterback for 2021.
I would argue that Jonathan Taylor should be taken ahead of Alvin Kamara. And so, do with that what you will. We saw with Taysom Hill, and I fully expect Taysom to be the quarterback for the Saints next year. We saw that Kamara just is not catching passes and not having that aspect to his game, combined with the likelihood that they only tend to give him 15 to 8 touches per game. It's just not good enough for a first round spot. He was not that good with Taysom at the helm. It's just not that good. You
wouldn't even take him in the first round?
I think you could make a strong argument to let somebody else take him. And he's going to go in the first round. So it's not like I wanted to, you got to make a decision. Like, do you want Zeke? I don't want Zeke either. But do you want Zeke, a guy who's going to get more touches probably on a team that is more likely, for example, to give it to Zeke at the goal line? There's going to be Taysom Hill taking all the touchdowns, man. I don't like it. I don't like it with a quarterback that's going to steal touchdowns with his legs in a non-PPR format, in a half point, again, with a running back that does not get volume. If you have yardage and touchdown guys need volume. They need to carry it 25 times. Like Derrick Henry. We see with Derrick Henry, when he doesn't score a touchdown, he fucking puts up a shit score. Like, you get an 8.
Here's how the first round went in this one anecdotal draft. So obviously this is not ADP. This is just a sit and go draft that I did. It was a 30-second clock on Underdog. All right, I'm just going to rip off the first round. McCaffrey 1, Cook 2, Derrick Henry 3, Alvin Kamara went 4. So maybe that's still a little bit of leftover. Yeah, people aren't fully realizing, because I'm with
the ADP is going to say. That's what I'm saying. Right. You don't need to go crazy. You just be like, I kind of like this other guy a little bit better. So
Barkley, I'll give you. Barkley went 5. Taylor went 6. So
there you go.
Now, this was my experiment draft where I took Travis Kelce at 7. At that point, I may not have. I probably would have taken Zeke here. Now, again, not that I think that Zeke is going to return to form, but you'll see what happens with the running backs, that especially in the best ball where you can't substitute them out. If we were in a season-long draft, I probably would have taken a wide receiver there. Okay, so I took Kelce at 7, Davante Adams at 8, Tyreek Hill went 9, Nick Chubb went 10, Zeke went 11, and Stephon Diggs, which you've correctly predicted would be a first-round player. I was wrong on that already.
Too soon. I wanted it to, no advantage here. I want to get him at a bargain.
Yeah, no, he is solidly in that tier 1. I mean, in the DFSARMY draft kit rankings, which we're working on now, Josh Allen, spoiler alert, is our QB1 over Mahomes. Remember, it's for fantasy. We always think that Pat Mahomes is a better quarterback. We love him more long-term for dynasty, but for our redraft rankings, we're going to have Josh Allen at QB1. So if we think that, we have to like Diggs up there as well. So, that's the first round. I mean, the other running backs that went shortly after were Cam Akers, Austin Eckler, and DeAndre Swift. So you see what happens. It starts to downward slope a little bit. And then we get into the Dobbins range, and then we have even more problems. So,
all right. So let's First of all, that it's really good knowledge seeing what's going in the first round. And again, you said I just want to remember the order of the wide receivers via ADP. So we had Devontae Adams, Reek, and then Diggs number 3. Is that correct?
Correct. And then it goes Hopkins.
Yeah.
And then we're into the young stars, the AJ Brown, Calvin Ridley, DK Metcalf range.
The drop off is dramatic. It's a big drop off between that first group and the second group. It's not even funny. It's a very serious difference. There's a very clear elite tier of wide receiver.
Yeah, and also a player that I didn't even mention there, which in our way too early draft, you had as number 5 overall. Michael Thomas is not even there. And by the way, I was looking at the Saints salary cap situation. I think there's like a 30% chance that he is not on the roster next year. They need to do something. They're gonna take about $40 million off the books when Drew Brees retires, but I don't see how they keep Michael Thomas unless they cut some other pieces.
I have to say, Michael Thomas to me could potentially be one of these recency bias, negative, that's incorrect scenarios.
Yeah,
so I'm very happy to see.
I want to open myself up to that because I was strictly like, hey, cross him off. But when you said that you want to take him 5th overall, I think you would adjust to that now. But that opened my eyes up a little bit that maybe the market is wrong. Sometimes I like when I have a strong lean, I want to circle back and say, like, wait a second, what happens if I'm wrong? Because we are, you're going to be wrong in fantasy football. It's a prediction business.
I honestly don't get the strong lean. He's the same guy. He had torn all kinds of ligaments and shit in his he had a crazy injury.
And he had good games with Taysom Hill, by the way.
He did. He was fine with Hill. Hill focused in on him exclusively. And the Saints continue to not have any other pass catchers. So to me, I don't see what changed with Michael Thomas's scenario. I think he's fine. I think he's a very good pick. Yep. And right here in this range, I was like, okay, in re-looking at this, of course, again, I think there's that elite tier, and I agree with it. Hill, Adams, Diggs.
Yeah.
Reed.
That's the big 3. But
yeah, those guys were the priced up guys in DFS too. It's not hard to figure these guys out because when you play DFS, you're like, all right, who are the most expensive few wide receivers at the end of the year? And it was Kelsey, Hill, Diggs, and then DeAndre Hopkins. Like that group was and is and remains the high price group for a good reason. But then you get into that secondaries with Michael Thomas and with the Justin Jeffersons of the world. Some of these other guys. Where did he go?
Second round. But here's the difference. Here's where best ball 2021 strategy. Here's the tip. Here's the takeaway when you enter an early best ball. Now, you're going to hear people say running back is deep. I've heard that. I've seen it on social media. And it is true, but it's relative to where it used to be. Meaning, by the time you got to the 3rd round last year, who were the running backs? There was major risk. There was Todd Gurley. There was James Conner. Guys that we maybe...
Garbage.
Yeah, now we know they're garbage, but back then we're like, okay.
Hold up. We knew they were garbage last year.
Right.
They were there.
People were taking David Johnson in the 3rd round. Now, here's the difference. Running back is deep in the sense where don't think like you can wait till like the 5th round to get a running back. Okay. The 3rd round running backs in early ADP are the young players who may have not met their expectations, but still have a ton of upside. Antonio Gibson, who probably exceeded his expectations, but fell off a little bit at the end. Gibson, Dobbins, and CEH. Those are the 3 running backs. Miles Sanders, Joe Mixon, James Robinson. Those are the type of players. And then the 2 top rookies, Najee Harris and Travis Etienne. So
those guys are all gone in the 3rd round?
Those are all 3rd round players right now. Okay. So again, last year's 3rd round, you were gambling on a broken Todd Gurley. This year, you're betting on either the best 2 rookies running backs or the young players that just had a down season. So that's where
Robinson didn't have no down season. He looked great. And some of these other guys looked really good. J.K. Dobbins is always going to be a little sketchy until we see him take.
By the way, great point. Great point on James Robinson because he had a great season, but yet the market still continues to doubt him because of his lack of draft pedigree. It's
all draft pedigree with him, which I love. That is an opportunity right there because James Robinson is a 3-down back. He's exactly what you want. There's no difference to me between James Robinson and like a Cam Akers who's going at the end of the 1st round. So there's a massive value. And trust me when I say this. The same thing with Gibson, by the way. These 2 guys might as well. They should be top of the second rounders.
All right,
And here's my prediction. They will be top of the second rounders by the time you're drafting in late drafts. So I love these spots where you could take advantage early of a mistake in ADP, which is what we're getting. Gibson and Robinson should be top of the second round picks. So when you're getting them in the third round, you're getting an advantage on the field, and it's a reason why you could feel comfortable taking Diggs at the top of the second, because that guy might still be there at the end of one of these guys might be there at the end of the third, or taking something else. So
yeah, so there you go. I want to underline what you just said because that's important. This is why early best ball is profitable. Okay, because you can go in and find these early round players that are going in the late 30s overall ADP that are probably going to be ADPs in the top 15 and get them now. Because when the market adjusts, when people start coming into these best ball, nobody knows. The ADP is a wild, wild west right now. So when you can correctly identify players like Antonio Gibson, like James Robinson, this is how you get an advantage and frankly win your league. I
mean, we're trying to win a tournament here. Again, 5.8 thousand entrants. This is what we're competing against in this specific tournament. There will be other tournaments, but this is probably the one I'm going to do the most of because it's Underdog and it's a really good format and everything. 5.8K entrants, right? Everybody in early. So you've got to beat them. I'm a value-based investor, right? I'm a value-based drafter. You've drafted many times with me. You guys have been with us for a long time who are listening to this right now. You know how I approach this. Even if I consider a player like Gibson top of the second round, I'm looking for value. So I'm looking to wait for guys I like to drop or to grab them just ahead of where I think they're going to go. I'm not going to take him at the top of the second round because that's where I think. Because if ADP is telling me he's going at the end of the third, I'm going to try to get him in the middle of the third, make sure I get these guys. But those are the types of things. That's how you win these leagues. And being comfortable taking later running backs opens up taking some studs early. So let's talk about some other spots.
One more thing. I think there's one important guy we need to talk about. This player. I want to get your take on this because this is this is sure to be the most polarizing player in the top 4 rounds. And then I want to get onto what you were saying. So there's a running back that finished from week 8 to the end of the season as the RB1. That is not going in the top.
About already.
Let's do the big reveal. He is not going in the top 36 picks. Do you know who that player is?
It has to be David Montgomery.
It is David Montgomery. And he is finished as the RB1, number 1 overall. He's the only player on the team. I know Tariq Cohen's coming back. Where are you comfortable? Why is David Montgomery not getting the respect? Why is he not going in the second round?
Because people don't realize that the Bears will have a different quarterback next year and a better overall team. So David Montgomery's got the stank on him from 2.5 years of being bad. But what people are missing is that he had a nice little run of being really good. Now, do we overreact to the nice run of being good? Tariq Cohen, again, you're right, coming back. When Cohen was on the team, the Montgomery that we got did not catch many passes and did not perform that well. So I think the balancing, and I don't think that David Montgomery belongs in the conversation with some of the studs that are 3 down backs because of precisely that. Tariq Cohen is coming back. So David Cohen's ascension into
David Cohen,
relevant.
What is this? David Montgomery or
Montgomery.
David Cohen is
on my Hebrew school sign-up sheet back in 1991. David Montgomery was not fantasy relevant until Tariq Cohen was out. So here's the whole point of this, right? What came first, the good David Montgomery or the loss of Tariq Cohen? What happens next year? But I think the part that might be missed by the field is we might get just a better overall, we might get a better overall version of the Bears, right? They get rid of Mitch Trubisky. They bring in who? I don't fucking know. But
my predictions article, I have Trubisky signing with Denver as a backup. I think that's the guy who they bring in to back up.
Who signs with the Bears?
Right.
Is it a rookie? Is it Jameis Winston? Is it Teddy Bridgewater? They bring over more stinky cheese.
It'll be certainly interesting. You saw Adam Schefter's article talking about how there's the over is 18 new starting quarterbacks. So
is that what you think? Yeah, I mean, like Adam Schefter also said that he thinks that after the Stafford trade that the Jets should get a late first for Samwise Darnold, which I don't think so. So I don't know Schefter.
I mean, again, it's just fun. It's fodder. You
Yeah.
know, it was an exaggeration for clarification, but yeah, in my predictions article, you'll see I have Cam Newton signing in Chicago. I know you don't like Cam Newton, but again, he's at least I think he's a baseline of it's an upgrade from Trubisky. Almost anybody is.
Let me tell. I got to talk a little bit about the Bears.
Okay.
Because my boy Bobby Clinks is a big Bears fan, and I root for Bobby. I don't root for the Bears. I root for Bobby Clinks. And the Bears brought back Ryan Pace, the worst GM in the history of the National Football League. The worst. Why? Why would you bring back a guy who traded up for Mr. Trubisky when Mahomes was available? Why would you bring this guy back? Why would you do it? Not Mahomes, Watson, whoever it was. Why would you bring this terrible GM back? He sucks at football. They're going to lose Allen Robinson. They're going to lose. The team is terrible. They can't turn it around. Why didn't they fire this guy? Why?
By the way, where do you predict Allen Robinson will go?
I think he will be a New York Jet.
You spoke it. I forgot that this is a Jets podcast. By the way, and I wanted to write that in my prediction article, but I just couldn't do it. I can't.
We feel like it's homerism and lame, but it's not. I don't homer my home team. I just think that's where he's going to land because why?
I have been accused many times of homering the Jets by the audience, but so I just again little teaser. I thought this through, and the only way that the Houston Texans can repair the relationship with Deshaun Watson is by getting him the alpha that they threw out with DeAndre Hopkins. I think that they're going to. That Allen Robinson is going to break the wide receiver market, and they're going to give him one of the largest deals you've ever seen to keep him in Houston. I mean, to get him over to Houston.
That assumes that the Watson relationship is not dead. And by the way, if the Jets do go the rookie quarterback way and don't get a Watson, still, I think Allen Robinson's coming to the team, or they grab a stud wide receiver with that second first round pick.
What do you think about that, though? The Texans signing Allen Robinson in order to satisfy Watson.
It makes sense. I don't know that the relationship is repairable. It probably is. Things are always repairable, but maybe not.
You know what? I heard a good quote from Andrew Brandt, the ex GM of the Packers. He goes, as a GM, because he was the GM for the Packers in the Favre days. He goes, I don't care if players are happy in January. I care if they're happy in December. Meaning, like, there's months until they report to training camp. There's always players that are going to be unhappy, and that. Let it simmer a little bit. The Texans have all the leverage here. They don't have to trade him. That the new CBA, collective bargaining agreement that the players agreed to, almost makes it impossible for a player to hold out. They have to start returning their signing bonus. They get fined.
Yeah, no, rightfully. I love that new CBA, and I appreciate it as a fan. I don't listen. Sorry, players, but I care about watching my team play, and when my team signs a player and he doesn't want to play, it really pisses me off.
Well,
and also for my fantasy football leagues, I can't be having, Zeke Elliott style holdouts.
Yeah, well, I empathize. The counterbalance to that, and I don't want to drift too far off best ball strategy, is that the running backs rightfully hold out because their peak performance is in the beginning where their pay is the lowest. And then by the time they're ready to be paid, they've already mostly passed their peak. So it's a little bit unfair, but we'll get into that another time.
I agree with that. It's not fair, but as a fantasy football enthusiast, I don't care. Nonetheless, let's move on back to
best ball strategy.
Best ball strategies and values. So how do you win your best ball league? You win it by you don't win it this is something it says you talk about all the time. You don't win it in the first round. You don't win it. You could lose it, but you don't tend to win your league in the first couple of rounds. You win your league in the late rounds even one player, if I grab a sixth rounder who climbs to a second rounder by the time drives are happening, I have such an edge on the field that it's not even funny. So let's talk about picks I can get post the third, fourth round after that should be going in the top 4 rounds. and where that can give me a true edge. So give me some of these guys who have fallen.
All right. Yeah,
and they can't get up.
I like that. That needs to be a new segment. I've fallen and I can't get up. Guys that whose ADP is suppressed. Now, there's two receivers.
Had an editor for these videos. They could throw like, like a little.
Yeah. What do you mean if you have an editor? I've been doing some editing for videos.
That's true. That's
true. And you know what? I'll add that in. But there's two players who, when the DFSARMY Dynasty rankings drop, as soon as we can get that draft kit going, you're going to be shocked to learn that I have T. Higgins and Brandon Ayuk as top 12 wide receivers in Dynasty. Both of those guys firmly belong in the top 12. They're in redraft. They should be going in the third round, both of them. Brandon Ayuk is, I don't care that Deebo Samuel is coming back. I don't care that That's right. I don't care that George Kittle's coming back. Brandon Ayuk is that guy. He's the people forget he was a first round pick. He for that 6-week stretch, he showed exactly why he exceeded expectations. He is going to be the main focus of that passing game. T. Higgins, same thing. We saw that he produced even with poor quarterback plays. Those two guys are currently going in the 6th round of 1 QB leagues. They should be top 15 wide receivers. They should. So those are the two guys that I've identified early as perfect values for your best ball team.
Good values. Both of them have negatives, big negatives. The negative on T. Higgins is, when are we getting Burrow back? When do they have a real quarterback? Because I don't want any quarterback associated with Ryan Finley.
Higgins produced even with poor quarterback play.
It doesn't matter. No, I know that, but no, not with Ryan Finley or whatever garbage they have going on. Obviously, I think the Bengals will get a better backup quarterback, by the way. I think that's one thing that they have to do with Joe Burrow potentially not back, but there's a concern there. But yeah, I think talent-wise, hell yeah, he looks like the real deal. He looks like AJ Green, but a young version of him. Love T. Higgins, love him long-term, and love the Bengals offense from a passing point of view long-term. The other guy, in terms of Brandon Ayuk, I like where you're talking about him in the 6th round. I don't think he deserves to be a top 15 wide receiver, though.
In Dynasty.
Maybe in Dynasty over the long haul. I no, because the problem is, and I think the talent is there, but for me, I have a problem. They don't throw that much in San Francisco. And
it's because they have Jimmy Garoppolo. They're actively looking to get out of that.
Well, there we go. So if the quarterback situation changes and they are throwing enough to support a George Kittle, a Deebo Samuel, who's still very good. And by the way, we got flashes of Deebo Samuel this offseason. Obviously, he didn't play much, but when he did play, you saw his size and what made him a special player. And for me, it reminded me, I'm like, oh yeah, this guy's a fucking beast because he's big and he's strong. And so Ayuk looked amazing, but he was the only target that was healthy for that team.
That's a narrative. By the way, that narrative that you just talked about is what's keeping his ADP down. That narrative right there is keeping that when everybody comes back and joins the team, that he's just going to be just some wide receiver 3 type.
No. I mean, it's real. It's not that he'll be some wide receiver 3. I don't agree with that. I think he looked very good, but I remember a Tyrell Williams looking very, very good one year when Tyrell the Gazelle was the only option for Phillip Rivers and the Chargers offense. And I remember a lot of people getting very excited about Tyrell Williams, the Gazelle, after that year. And we saw what happened the next season when Keenan Allen came back, when the tight end was around, when they got, and all of a sudden, like, oh, this guy's not good.
The difference is Kyle Shanahan, Kyle Shanahan handpicked Brandon Ayuk. He was Kyle Shanahan. Brandon Ayuk was his wide receiver 1 in this class. Remember, San Francisco traded away, I think, the 12th or 13th pick and then they moved back again because they knew they got a sense that Ayuk was going to drop, but they were prepared to take Ayuk with that pick.
Okay, so I mean, like I said, Ayuk looked great. So no knock, and I love the pick in the 6th round. I'm just saying, like, I'm not sure I see a top 15 this year redraft player.
And just remember, that's exactly why he's not going to float up to those upper rounds.
Give me some running backs.
Yeah,
I need running backs late. I want them after the 4th round, and I want them to be startable so that I don't have to fear not taking a running back with my first 4 picks in a row.
So the idea, this is my favorite strategy so far on Underdog, especially in half PPR. Because he had an injury-riddled season, but we saw what happened when he played, Raheem Mostert is readily available in the 5th round and later. And all you need to do is, we don't want to waste roster spots on handcuffing, but in the 12th round, you handcuff him with Jeff Wilson. Tevin Coleman is an unrestricted free agent. He's gone. He's not coming back.
Jerick McKinnon already said I'm not coming back.
Not coming back. So you're talking about those 2 players are going to form the committee. Now, they'll bring in somebody else as like a third. Just, you need 3 running backs on your roster. So, but I am not worried at all about the production. If you're able to get Raheem Mostert in the 5th or 6th round, I think he even went in like the 7th in this first draft that I did, and then get Wilson later on, you have locked up one of the best running games at almost, a cost that's unbelievable. Raheem Mostert will, and the Jeff Wilson combination should return top 14, top 12 value overall in a best ball draft. What do you think about taking Mostert at that point?
Yeah, I mean, the only negative to your strategy is if they bring in somebody completely different and they lose faith in Mostert. I don't think that Raheem Mostert's role is locked in secure as, quote, the starter or even the lead back for San Francisco. I don't think that's an absolute guarantee, but I do like the idea of taking those 2 guys and hopefully locking it up, and you need a little bit of luck, but that's a little bit of what you need in these types of drafts. You need a little bit of luck. Like, what are you going to do? But that's the guys they have now. But there is definitely, I don't think their roles are as secure as some of the other, and that's why they're dropping a little bit.
Yeah, the other players that are going really late, I mean, like 8th round and later, are both Buffalo running backs. Now, there's a reason for it. Give me your take on there. I mean, if you can get one or both of those guys in the 8th or 7th or 8th or 9th round, are you at all interested in the Buffalo running backs?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind Moss late. I don't think that Singletary is good, so I don't want him there. I think we saw in the playoffs that they don't like Singletary that much. He can't pass protect. The fact that Yeldon was playing ahead of him is a really, really, really bad sign. So not Singletary for me, but as I said, Yeldon was playing ahead of Singletary in the championship game. Yeldon, who didn't play all season. So because Singletary could not pass block. So, but Moss they like. And so I don't mind taking Moss late. I think he's the better of the 2. I think he's the better play and he's the better pick late. And I don't mind it. Like I said, if you're playing a 0 RB approach, and that worked this past year, so a lot of people are going to do that. Hopefully that'll drop some running backs a little bit later than maybe they should. But that's one place where you can go. I'll tell you another team where we don't even know what's going on at running back, and this might be where the rookies come in or some surprise that maybe you have insight into, but the New York Jets. Talk about them again. Who's going to be the running back for that team? There's a few teams that really don't have a running back solution that we know for sure, and something will emerge. Like on the Falcons, we don't know who the running back is going to be for the Atlanta Falcons. We don't know for the Jets who the running back is going to be. Maybe it's one of these guys that we saw kind of being kicked around, but my guess is that guy's not on the roster. Going to be somebody we don't know.
Yeah, one of the dusty free agents for sure. I mean, there's so many of them. Kenyon Drake is out there. James Conner is going to be available. And again, my predictions article, check that out. We're going to be tweeting it out later today. It's funny. It's like, you talk about like these old dusty guys that you're not happy about, and you specifically want to know what's going on with the Jets. Todd Gurley, in my predictions article, he's going to sign with Tennessee to back up Derrick Henry. But the Jets, I mean, we have to see the Jets be a productive offense. Obviously, if Fields is drafted and they do decide to go that direction, that changes everything. But I don't know. I'm not looking at the Jets offense as something I'm proactively drafting in these.
No,
in these
my point was, can we find starters late? Starting running backs late.
Sure. So we talked about San Fran running backs. The other one that I like late, and meaning you can get them in the 10th round. Now that the Ravens have let Mark Ingram walk, Gus Edwards, who's a restricted free agent, he'll be re-signed by the Ravens. I think that he is a candidate for 10 touchdowns. Not a lot of yardage, not a lot of catches, but when you're in the double-digit rounds of your best ball, anyone who has that type of upside, I'm not sure they're going to smash Lamar into the line. I think they're just going to feed Gus, and 7 to 10 touchdowns is certainly in play.
Talk talk about some rookie running backs that we know are going to come off the board. We don't know their names now, but because of that reason, we can get them in the 15th round, 16th, 17th round, very, very late. But guys who, if they fall into the right situation, might be able to win me this tournament. Remember, I'm attacking a tournament here where it's top heavy to the point that you're going to need a luck. You're going to need to fall on something in the very, very late rounds that turns into a James Robinson type play. A very, very late round pick that emerges the way that T. Higgins did this year. We need, who are those guys? And a lot of them probably are going to come from the rookie class. So give me some names beyond the two very popular rookie running backs.
Well, like you said, Najee Harris and Travis Etienne, they're going to go in the third round.
I don't mean those guys. I'm not talking about the obvious.
And this is a very heavy wide receiver. This is a very deep wide receiver class. Probably the consensus RB3 is Javonte Williams from North Carolina, and in these early best ball draft, he's going in round 7, but very easily we saw Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was our RB5 heading into pre-draft last year. Okay, he was going in round 7, round 9, round 10, and then obviously when the Chiefs drafted him, he got all the way up into the first round at some point. So Javonte Williams could end up being that player because he's probably going to be the third or fourth running back to go in the order they get drafted. That could skyrocket up if he's in the right situation. So right now, when you talk about projectable draft pedigree plus someone who could rise, I would look at Javonte Williams of North Carolina, someone you can get in the 7th, 8th, or 9th round.
How about this for a sneaky pick? We know that the Packers might not re-sign Aaron Jones, or if they did, then probably not resigning Jamal Williams. One of those guys is gone, right? We saw the emergence of A.J. Dillon for a few games at the end of the season, and he looked like Derrick Henry out there, man. He looked good. He ran strong. He ran hard. Everything about what he was doing was like, damn, this kid looks good. So where's A.J. Dillon going? Can I get him in the double-digit rounds? And could that be one of these situations where, shit, maybe Aaron Jones is out. Maybe A.J. Dillon becomes the prime back with Jamal Williams backing him up as the pass catcher. That could happen.
Yeah, so this is why you should have been playing best ball 2 weeks ago, because the jig is up and A.J. Dillon's in the top 24 running backs already. He's going in like the late 4th round, early 5th round.
What?
Yeah, the ADP is there with that expectation. In my predictions article, which we'll be sending out later, I have Aaron Jones re-signing and Jamal Williams going to the Falcons. But I'm with you that A.J. Dillon, he's still a pretty good value in the 5th round. He
looked good, but I want to steal him as a bargain play that everybody forgot about.
Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. His ADP will be lower. It'll look like he's going to get drafted in the 80s according to the default ADP, but there's someone in every room like you, Geek, that's sharp enough to understand that let's take a chance on him. Now, we talked about him a couple times. We're going to continue to talk about Myles Gaskin. I think he's the forgotten man. You can get him in the 7th round.
Wow.
Yeah. People are not drafting him. They're thinking the same reason that James Robinson moved to the 3rd round. Gaskin's getting the same treatment. Produced all year. Doesn't have draft pedigree. People are assuming that Miami is going to use one of their premium draft picks on a running back. You and I have talked about this on this podcast. That is absolutely... have a strong lean they will not. Why would you use a premium pick on a position that you already have filled?
That you like. What a great advantage. I was going to ask about Gaskin as well. What a great advantage right there, because I think it was a Schefter article or one of these blurbs where they were talking about how Miami should probably take a running back with that 2nd pick in the 1st round. And I was going, why would they do that? Like, this is a team that needs offensive linemen. They need wide receivers. Why would they take a running back? That doesn't make any sense. And they have a running back, and they have Salah Ahmed, who they like as a backup. And oh, by the way, a very, very cheap backup to get for Myles Gaskin, where you probably get Salah Ahmed, in the 16th or 18th round. Like, you're taking him with your last pick. Like, all right, let me back up Myles Gaskin. I'll grab his backup. Like, you can lock down potentially, assuming they don't spend draft capital on a running back. You can lock down the Miami backfield
So I
with
think
2 very late picks.
Yeah, I think what we just did here was we just uncovered a great underdog fantasy best ball strategy. And this is it. Okay, so with one of your entries, this is what I want you to do if you're listening to this podcast. I want you to load up on wide receivers. I want you to take Devontae Adams. I want you to take Justin Jefferson in the second round. I even want you to take Calvin Ridley in the third round, Darren Waller in the fourth round. Okay, now we're in the fifth round. We're gonna get our running backs. Okay, we're gonna try this with one of our entries. We're gonna get Raheem Mostert. We're gonna get Gus Edwards later on. We're gonna get Jeff Wilson, the backup Mostert. We're gonna get Myles Gaskin. We're gonna try that strategy and see if that works in one of our entries. While everyone else is fighting over the running backs, us included, by the way. We're gonna try a couple entries where we load up on the wide receivers, and we just uncovered today. Not only how to get those running backs, those guys that could be top 12, top 15 running backs, but to get their backups, their handcuffs, just in case things go wrong 4 or 5 rounds later.
Nothing's more important than premium backups in best ball leagues. As everybody who played ever fully understands and is fully aware of, you need to handcuff your running backs in these leagues because shit, you wind up getting zeros, and you can't be getting zeros and winning these. So you've got to back them up. Let's wrap it up there. That's some really, really great late round values here. Again, we're talking about Underdog Fantasy. If you want to go check them out, you can sign up using promo code DFSARMY. They give you a $100 guarantee. If you're not enjoying their product, they'll refund you your money. Everybody loves it.
It's funny because it's like saying we'll give you $100 guarantee back if you don't like ice cream. I mean, Underdog Fantasy, it's such a great product. That's why we got them on as a sponsor. We love playing it.
Yeah,
no,
we're not. And I like playing best ball year round. Again, love fantasy football. Don't want it to end. Love dynasty, everything. And we'll be coming to you guys all throughout the offseason with more best ball strategies, more overall dynasty strategy. We're going to be talking dynasty. We're going to keep it going year round, so check that out. Of course, at DFSARMY, you can get a full season long, which goes for a full year. You can get a season long subscription for our season long fantasy football service. Check that out. You can use promo code SAYS. It's a 12-month subscription. You get the draft kit. You get the dynasty rankings. You get all the premium content. Lots of off-season goodness will be going on there. And so check that out. Go to DFSARMY.com, sign up for promo code SAYS. Check out the season-long only member. I think it's $35.
Yeah, don't forget this.
It's nothing.
If you've never signed up for DFSARMY before, right? Say you're a new subscriber, you've consumed our content, you enjoy the content. You can go to Underdog Fantasy, right? And you could sign up to play best ball using our code DFSARMY. And we're going to give you a free month of DFSARMY with that. All you got to do is, what do they got? A screenshot that they're sign up?
Yeah, they email it to us. There's instructions on the DFSARMY.com website under the free offer tab, but you're just going to send us an email with a screenshot. Let us know that you signed up over at Underdog Fantasy using code DFSARMY, and you will get a free month of DFSARMY. This is for new subscribers.
The link, by the way, if you don't want to put in the code, you can just go to the link of this YouTube video.
Link below.
And click that link, and you'll get right into Underdog. That uses our code as well. And you hear every video say like and subscribe, share, all that stuff. But if you're enjoying this content, if you enjoy listening to the Geek's rants, his legendary rants, that's a great way to pay us back. If you're not going to subscribe, is to just hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you want to get notified. It helps us out, and it's a great way to support the content if you're not yet a subscriber. And if you are a subscriber, help us out. That'd be great.
Absolutely. We love it. And of course, we will be back again. A little bit of housekeeping here. This is Super Bowl week as we're recording this. So you might not be watching it during Super Bowl week, but as we're recording this, it is during Super Bowl week. And we've got a lot more content coming at you guys this week. There will be a full blast props show with Statsational, John Alicia, going over all kinds of Super Bowl games and props that we can put together for our big game. Do people get together for the Super Bowl in Corona? Like, is that even a thing? What a fucked up year. I don't even know. I'm not having friends coming over to watch the Super Bowl. I'm watching solo. We'll be fucking YouTubing it. We'll be on Zoom Super Bowl party. Put up the boxes. We're going to have it on the Zoom meeting. I don't know how we're doing it. But we're going to talk about props, other things to make the Super Bowl more fun. And, of course, I will be back with my crew in check for a showdown breakdown, completely breaking down the Super Bowl contest on FanDuel, DraftKings, and SuperDraft. Specifically, the showdown style contests, single game tournaments, that we're going to be breaking down and going over. It's the biggest, to me, it's the prize of the season. I want to win this showdown more than I've ever wanted to win a showdown. It is the ultimate crown jewel tournament. So I'm going all out for this. And so check that out later. And of course, if you have not signed up as DFSARMY at all, if you play daily fantasy sports, NBA, 40K winner last night, every night. It's like every night, 40K winner. Guys, and the reaction is always the same. Oh my God, I can't believe this just happened. That I have the screenshot. That's exactly what they say. It's always a shock. It could be you. Get signed up at DFSARMY. There's no better daily fantasy sports advice platform in existence. I promise you. Everybody knows it. There's a reason.
You know what's funny? You know what? My wife has a nutrition business, and it's very similar in the sense where people don't believe that they're going to be helped by you until they actually get helped by you, and then they start telling people about it. Like my wife says all the time, "Well, I've been through all these different things, this doctor, that doctor," and then she gives them a few simple adjustments to what they're already doing, and then all of a sudden they start feeling healthy. I feel like that's what DFSARMY does. People that have been playing DFS, even at the $5, $10, $25 level for so long that have been losing, are just so used to losing. And then they come into our Slack chat and they get little tips and just these little leaks in the game that you and the rest of the coaches in the DFS section fix. All of a sudden they start going from losing $50 a week to breaking even. And then they start going from breaking even to winning $100 a week. I see it all the time. And they're like, "Oh, I'm picking the wrong contest. Oh, I'm doing too much chalk in this game." That's the best part to me, is that I see that all the time and it happens every week. Now, the $40,000 winner, that's great. And it can be you, but if you're just watching this, we're not selling you a lottery ticket. We're selling you fixes in your game to improve. And in few months, a few years time, that's when you're going to get into the high profitability.
What we found over and over and over again, and I've done this for enough years to understand it, is people don't even know, like they don't even understand what they're doing wrong. They don't even.
I was one of those guys.
Yeah, I don't have the slightest clue. I see this all the time because on social media, you see the questions like they assume that we're handing out players and picks to people and giving out lineups because they can't understand what does that mean? DFS, like what do you mean tools for daily fantasy? Do you give me a lineup? Where's my lineup? No, we don't give you a fucking lineup. We're teaching you how to construct a lineup. We give you the tools to put it together. You have research stations, but also you have really good projections. We learn ownerships and how to leverage against the field. A player's going to be high owned. Should we play him?
Geek.
Should we not play him? So
there's good and bad coaches in the NFL. There's good and bad coaches in teaching someone how to do DFS. I mean, that's just how it is. And what I really like how you've constructed the company over the last, close to decade already, is that you've taken the best DFS players and brought them in to help teach other people,
including me, by the way. And I don't mean myself as a best player. I mean somebody who wants to learn. When it's a sport that I don't know, what did I do? I went out and found the best NASCAR person in existence, said, "Hey, come work here. Come help our guys. Work for me. Be part of this." I found the best NBA guy I could find. Listen, I had to get rid of people. I found the best NBA team I could find and said, "Hey, you do this for us now," right? I went out and said, "Hey, this is a top ranked guy. Come in here, Keg. We got our team. We got a great NBA team with Mutt and Keg and all and Madness and all these guys that were already good from before."
Well, that's the
same
sales
thing with other sports. MMA, we got Big Marley in. Why? Because Big Marley is one of the best MMA guys there is.
He is, by the way, all your guys that you talked about are good. I've been reading Marley lately. That guy knows his MMA. I didn't realize what I didn't know about it until I started, getting.
I mean, you get a 15,000 word breakdown. That's for every sport. So that's just a little bit of what we did. I went out and said, I'm not the best at every sport. And by the way, I'm not. I can't be an expert in everything DFS. I come from the fantasy football world. That's what my specialty is, right? I've learned other sports, but I like to play them as a player, not as a coach, not as a staffer, because I like to play. But what I do is I use these DFSARMY tools for my game. I don't use other things. So I want the best in here because that's what I'm using for me. So I always say, if I like it and I like the setup, other people are going to like it too. If it's helping me be profitable, it's going to help other people too. So that's been the full approach of DFSARMY from the start. And again, a lot of people just have no idea how to play, no idea how to strategize, how to change their lineup construction based on the contest selection, even how or why they might even do that. So we teach so much of that For some people, it clicks. Others, it never does. But for some people, it's just going to click and you'd be like, now I get it. Okay. Or that confirms kind of what I thought. But it's really great to hear that from people who are winning. So great. Because a lot of people, they're sharp and they know their stuff. They just need a little bit of, a lot of what DFSARMY is just like we're compiling all the research and all the details and everything you need in one place. It costs $1 or $2 a day, depending on what subscription you get. And for people who play, even in a mildly serious way, like, what are you going to do? Spend 5 hours compiling all this info yourself, or pay $2 and we did a day, or $1.50 a day and we do it for you? Like I said, there's also a modicum of what's your time worth. Like, it takes a lot of time to compile all this stuff, to put it all together. Go. We've done it. We've got the optimizer tool. We've got the research station. So all of that stuff is there. Anyway.
All right.
We will be back again next week. More of this good stuff for Season Long Says and myself. Good luck this season. Let's crush some best ball leagues together. Take care, everyone.
Got the best coaches in the game. We really ain't playing. We regroup up in the Slack chat where the coaches debrief. We be piecing these puzzles, occupy